Listen, I think we fairly have questions about the offense, right? I think especially the offensive line, after everything you saw what happened last year and what they brought in as reinforcements, there are very fair questions to have for this offense. But I think most everybody is, at worst, extremely confident on what this defense can be. We've talked about it, top 5, it feels like. Top 10 at the absolute worst, the way this defense looks. But, Clint, I think the way we can really tell about how good a defense is against what do you do against the top offenses. Right, this defense is going to smother the hell out of Cam Ward and the Titans. They're going to smother them. Probably going to do the same to Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. Probably are going to give teams like the Raiders hell, probably even Sean Payton, the Broncos, they're going to smother teams that don't have, a lot of weapons and things. Like, you can look at it. Jacksonville, they probably will give them hell, depending on what Hunter and Brian Thomas bring to the table. But you can see most of them. But it's those really good offenses, right, Clint? That's how you can tell how good a defense is. How do you fare against? Because it don't make no look good if you give up 6 points to the Titans, but you give up 28 to the Ravens, or you give up 32 to the Ravens. How are they going to be? And I think the thought that I want to go is how confident and how do you feel about this defense as they go up against the top offenses? And they have several, Clint, to look at this year. Would you put the Rams in that?
Absolutely.
The Rams in there.
Yeah. Right out of the gate.
Hey, the Bucs, I know you maybe not think Tampa, but Tampa had the number 3 overall total offense last year. That's a group, and they added another receiver, the kid from Ohio State. They added him. The Ravens, of course, you know what they have done to you here recently. They put up 32, 31 easy on you last year. And then you got the Bills, who were the number 1 scoring offense in football last year. Obviously, the Chiefs, who have obviously Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. They are more healthy this year. I think the Chargers are a team. They've added to their running back room. They've added receivers. That's another group. How confident are you that the Texans will be able to play really, really well against those top offenses?
Very confident.
Yeah.
Very confident. I love – obviously, we saw last year multiple times them be able to get after a quarterback, that had been comfortable for the most part of the year, right? I mean, so the ability to get after the quarterback is one thing. The ability to do that and not have to bring additional helmets, to bring safeties, bring backers, bring nickel defenders, the ability to do that is there. We've seen it. Right now, what's beautiful, what I think is most beautiful about defense made this year is when I look at their secondary, and I include their nickel defenders in that secondary, I love the options, right? Depending on what an offense is trying to throw at you from a personnel standpoint, you got guys that can cover tight ends, that can be physical and rush. And I'm talking about, again, in the secondary. I'm not talking about linebackers and D linemen. I'm talking in the secondary. You got guys that are really, really good and have great instincts rushing the passer. You have guys that are long and have great instincts in playing zone defense. You got the ability to slide Kamari Lassiter in, or you can leave him outside and bring a third corner in. I think the kid they drafted out of USC this year is going to be a really, really good player, at least in that role. So you've got a nickel coverage package. You've got a nickel zone package. You've got a nickel pressure package. You've got depth at all positions. I think the secondary takes this defense to the next level. And the most important part about that is you're talking about guys that have the ability to show one look and then shift into something else, which is what you have to do against the experienced quarterbacks in this league. You can't show them a picture and then stay in that snap after snap after snap after snap. You've got to be able to move. You've got to be able to shift around. You've got to be able to change personnel. You've got to be able to give them different looks. We know DeMeco Ryans can do that. The question is will the Texans personnel ever get to a point where he has the ability to do it? And I think they are. They're there right now.
Yeah, you bring up the point, man. You can rush the passer the way they can. And as you said, we saw with DeMeco, hell, if he wants to, he can load up and bring pressure. The number he did on Caleb Williams, which led CJ to have to let him know about things. The number he did on other quarterbacks where he just said, F it. I'm just going to bring the blitz to go along with guys, and not just bring the blitz to get linebackers or safeties in, but to bring the blitz. There are multiple times he brought blitzes with Petrie that allowed guys like Will and Daniil to get one-on-ones against guys that can't touch them. And that was the whole deal, was to get, advantages in matchups, and he's been able to do that. But you marry their pass rush with what their potential can be in the secondary, and it is nasty. And Clint, this is the thing about this defense that if you're a Texans fan, you got to be excited as hell about, is they got a bunch of guys that have been good and are good currently, that you get the feel just by experience and age that this is not the best that they're going to be, right? Like, we look and see Kamari Lassiter and you think, well, now he's a full year. He knows what training camp is. He knows it's his job. He's played a full year. He's got to have huge confidence. There's probably a step for him. We saw Petrie in this defense get comfortable. There's maybe a step for him. The other kid in the back end that they got, the kid from USC whose name is just escaping, Kalen Bullock. There's got to be another step with him. Hell, Will. We saw Will make a jump. There's another step. That's the other part, is are going to get better. Here's the interesting thing about Kamari Lassiter, because I think that's the key here, right? And this is not an effort for me to be right from my bold prediction last year at all. It's not. But I'm not sure that he's not good. The best place for Kalen Bullock isn't inside at a nickel defender. You're talking about
Lassiter, Kamari Lassiter. And I'm not saying that he's not good enough. Like last year, my thought was he's not good enough to be outside. He needs to be sheltered inside, right? He needs to be protected a bit inside.
You're saying now from
I was
a
wrong on
playmaker
that.
Perspective.
Bingo. I'm talking about impacting the game, right? Like outside, there's D'Amico's going to, with the exception of obviously Stingley. Stingley's a guy that when you need him, he travels, he can do all that, right? Kamari Lassiter is going to be a guy that more times than not is going to be soft. He's not going to take a lot of risk in terms of undercutting. And I don't think it's by design. I think it's just D'Amico's defense, right? There's going to be some protection there. There's going to be maybe some passive play there. I'm not sure that him, as physical as he is, and the instincts that he has, is not able to impact the game in a much bigger way if they get him down there in the mix. Now, obviously, you got Jalen Petrie, but you're talking about two total different players. One's a coverage defender, and one is more of a rusher and a zone defender. So it's going to take both of them, but I'm not sure that he doesn't impact the game more from inside.
Yeah.
And so, and you that option.
The Ravens game is a good reminder. He slid in.
Yeah.
He forced a safety.
Well, you're not. You were kind of get Jeff Okuda or one of these dudes in the game. They got absolute torched, right? Yeah. So you don't have the ability to move him around. Now, if you've got the ability to move him around, you look at the Devontae Adams touchdown with the Jets when he caught it over Jalen Petrie, right? You take that completely out of the mix. Now, I'm not saying Devontae Adams doesn't beat Kamari Lassiter if he's pressed in the slot, but you got a cover defender that can be in his hip pocket at least now. So D'Amico's ability to do that this year is a game changer for this defense.
Text line coming in. The linebackers are going to be a liability in coverage. Christian Harris would certainly help that. E.J. Speed, I think, are guys that have a better chance at that. I can understand that when you get guys like Henry To'oTo'o and Aziz locked up. To me, it's not even that. To me, the only thing that I would worry about is, we talked about how do they perform against these good teams, is when teams like the Ravens, teams like Buffalo, Kansas City did it to them, especially in the first, is if they run the ball. And that to me is the thing that could be the hurt for this team.
Well, but let's go back to the versatility now with the different personnel. Now, I'm assuming there's some guys that work out, and I mean, they may be flops, maybe in the same position. But like last year, we all knew, anybody that watches football knew that if you put Azeez Al-Shaair against the Chiefs in zone coverage in the middle of the field, Kelsey's going to torch him.
Yeah.
Right? It may not be all game long, but Kelsey and Mahomes are eventually going to get him. Right. Sometimes it takes 3 quarters, but they eventually get you, and it puts you down 2 scores, and the game's over. Right. The truth of the matter is, last year you didn't have many options. Your hands were D'Amico's hands were tied from a perspective of what do you do defensively, right? This year, you can do things. Again, I'm talking about like put Kamari Lassiter inside and play man and put him on Travis Kelce or put him on a tight end that's able to work the middle of the field better, and you have a much better chance than if Azeez Al-Shaair is roaming center field. I mean, that's not. The texture's right. If Azeez Al-Shaair is in zone coverage, a deep zone coverage, and he's working the middle of the field and he's responsible for the middle of the field, we're going to get torched. I just think D'Amico has more options to keep us out of that position this season.
Yeah. No, yeah. To me, yeah, that the versatility. That's what I'm saying. The only place to me where there could be problems for this defense that then you would have to change, thinking it could affect the other stuff, is if you get games like the Ravens just ran it down their throats.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. Like the Chiefs in the first game, they didn't run it great the whole time until the end.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't get them off the field and couldn't stop Kareem Hunt and stuff like that. Like that's the only, to me, real concern of weakness with this defense is if a team is just aggressive and running the football, that may be the potential weakness.
Yeah.
But Foley's there and he was good when he was in there last year, and the guys up front, they can hold it down, but that's the only concern.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you're going to have your hands full with Philadelphia and their ability to run the football. You're going to have your hands full with Baltimore and their ability. I know they don't play Philadelphia. I'm just talking about football in general. If we play Baltimore, you're going to have your hands full. It's Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, man. It becomes
Indy in the division.
Well, it should. I don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, you should. Jonathan Taylor with potentially Anthony Richardson should be a problem. But yeah, I mean, but now you've got. It becomes a chess match between the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator, and now D'Amico has more options. He's got more chess pieces to play with.